G'day everybody and welcome back. This is something a little bit different. We've just installed a new buffer tank at work for cider and commercial sparkling wine, and I needed to make up a few fittings. Now it needs to be fairly flexible in its design because it needs to be able to couple different size hoses for different purposes. So here you'll notice in the background there's two argon cylinders, and you'll see a clear hose going up into this fairly rough homemade welding positioner that I made out of scrap. I'm welding a inch and a half triclover fitting here to an inch and a half male BSM or milk fitting. So just having tacked it, I'm now just going to run the bead around, and the purpose of back purging is that when you're welding stainless steel, you have a situation known as carbonic precipitation, and the back purging mitigates that. So instead of having horrible lumpy black welds inside the fitting, it actually ends up being smooth. Well, it looks like it's been welded inside as well as the outside. If you try and slow the footage down a bit so you can see the bead running around inside there. So it's a hygienic food grade weld. So how do we go about the purging? I've got these little clamps that I just bolt the fitting down to. There's a diffuser that hose is connected to, like a sintered brass diffuser. Then I put a bit of masking tape, in this case, over the top of the fitting to slow down the loss of argon, and I poke some holes in the top to let the air out and then the argon out, so it'll continue to purge argon through. Then we sit him on top, line him up. Sometimes I use clamps with holes drilled in them for tacking purposes. In this case I just use my eye. This is a hydraulic fitting. The gas I turn on and I just sort of let it run for a few minutes at about 7 to 9 CFM in this case. That hydraulic fitting is quite heavy, but it's also hollow. It's got no internals, so the gas just flows up through it. It's just to hold it there while I tack it. Then I go and lower it down to between 3 to 5 CFM, depending on what I'm welding in these types of fittings. Now these are a butt weld, so there's no requirement for any filler wire. Just fusion weld them together. This has already been tacked, and I'm just running the finish weld on it. And this particular fitting needs to be built up, so it needs to have an inch and a half BSM at one end and a 1 inch at the other, so we need a reducing cone. It's what I'm putting on now. A little bit of tape I'd prepared earlier for all the holes. Now of course this isn't motorcycle specific, but if you are TIG welding, if you are, for example, manufacturing a set of stainless steel pipe exhausts or something, these techniques are transferable. For example, this is a 2-inch 316 stainless tube that needed to have a triclover at one end and a BSM at the other. So I spent Saturday morning at work knocking up a few fittings for the new tank, gave a bit of pickling paste and a clean with some Scotch-Brite, and there it is in situ. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. I'll catch you next time on Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions. Bye for now.